Welcome to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com. I'm Joe Cook. That's Eric Naleen. Thank you for watching. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, head to Inside Texas. Had a lot of team info up today, including some great stuff that comes with that On3 bundle from Chris Lowe, great stuff from Eric as well. And now we got to talk a little bit about the recruiting that we'll have analyzed over on Inside Texas. Jackson Cook, no relation, from Westlake High School here in Austin, commits to the Longhorns, got his offer on March 13th, and is the first offensive lineman to join this class. And we talk a lot about constructing offensive line classes over the years, Eric, and each piece being important. And Jackson Cook definitely fills a specific piece for this class.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to take a center candidate, and I think he's going to end up at center, just like Connor Robertson did out of Westlake. You got to take a center every other class at minimum. Now, you can draw centers from guards, you can draw centers from tackles even, but you have to make sure that you have a plan at center. So take a guy that you know can play it every other year. And I'm not saying they're not going to take another guy that might fit that need, because these guys can often play between center or guard. But you got to have that guy. 2 years ago, they took Jackson Christian. Last year, they didn't take one unless, maybe Caden Scher ends up there. I don't know. Maybe Nicholas Robertson can too, but he seems like such a mauling guard. You just want to leave him at guard. But Jackson, I think, has all the traits that you look for in a center, and I'm pretty excited about it. I was excited about Jackson Christian with this possibility. I'm seeing some similar things to Jackson Christian, actually, and you can see him. This tape shows a lot of center traits. He gets off one block and onto another very quick. You can see him climb to the second level. He pulls at times. Sometimes you pull the center. I really like what I see, and obviously I think he's a pretty sharp kid as well. So he's got a ton of experience at the high school level. So now it just comes down to, hey, how long is he willing to wait? Is he, because he's not going to be a first-day starter, right? If Jackson Christian has a massive head start on him, and assuming he's the player, then he's going to have to wait his turn. But now it's just getting the strength and conditioning program, the new look strength and conditioning program, one designed to really give you strength and just develop. And so I'm excited about the get. There's other reasons to get excited about we can talk about as well.
I think he's also, as you might maybe expect from a Westlake kid, I think he's got relatives who played at Texas. If I'm looking from what he said, his stepdad, there we go, Matt Trissel played at Texas.
Trissel. Yep.
Yeah, so stay in the Austin area, got some burnt orange bloodlines. And, that's going to help in this era where you're talking about how long does he want to wait. Not everybody's going to wait forever, but someone who grew up loving burnt orange and who loves playing for the University of Texas. And I think actually this game that's on the screen is against Prosper, and I was there, and I'm like, everybody thought that the Prosper offensive line was going to be the one that took things over. It was kind of that Westlake O-line that game at Mary Hardin Baylor. So I didn't remember him standing out specifically, but I remember a pretty good Westlake O-line performance. But kind of back to what I was saying, the fact that he could be willing to wait maybe a little bit more than some other players because of the bloodlines, definitely something you factor in, I think, if you're Kyle Flood.
Yeah, you got the hometown draw. These guys are going to be more likely to stick with it. He knows the depth chart ahead of him. He knows it's going to take a little bit of time. He knows Connor Robertson didn't start playing until just this past year after Connor came out in the 2022 class. So it could be, that's how it plays out for him. Now, you never know when you're going to get your turn. Connor Robertson got a turn, pretty early. It was earlier than he was ready when Jake Majors got hurt. But, there should be no rush. Some of these guys really need to embrace the old school way of getting in, redshirting, then practicing for 2 years, and then hopefully you're a starter as a junior when you're physically mature, mentally mature. I think the mental maturity is going to be there pretty early. Like I said, I think he's played. Man, I forgot. I saw his game starts in high school. It's a lot for a guy that just finished his junior year. So I think I think that's going to help him for sure. But, there's a number of different ways to look at these. As David Williams brings up over here, we were just talking about this in the text. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with Peyton Miller. Last we heard that Texas was still in a good spot with him. Perhaps they want them both. Like I said, these guys could play guard. They could play center. They're somewhat interchangeable. We saw Cole Hudson. Not everybody's Cole Hudson, but everybody, Cole Hudson gave center a try. It didn't go all that great, but, he didn't practice it probably nearly as much as he needed to. But some of these guys can play guard. They can play center. So we'll see what happens with Peyton Miller. But I assure you that schools like Texas Tech are making it more difficult on Peyton Miller than Texas would like. So go here, set the floor. There's two ways to look at modern recruiting. Is it money ball or is it money bag? Now, for every money bag, you're going to have to money ball some guys as well. So if you're trying to get Kamara out of Gilmer, obviously that's going to affect the rest of your class, either the rest of your offensive line haul. And so here you got a guy that you're going to reserve some capital. It's probably not going to cost you all that damn much. But he's still a good player, got all the traits. We haven't really talked enough about the traits. Probably he's got good body mechanics for the position. He seems to have a good physicality about him. His tape to me is more physical than Peyton Miller's. So good get, throw him in the incubator. Remember, these guys go in the smoker, not the microwave. So just give it some time. But think about it as how he affects the class holistically. Doesn't cost you a ton, and you're still shopping for guys that are going to be expensive, like Brian Swanson, Kamara, Jasper Noqueri. Those guys aren't going to be cheap.
One thing that I think when you know that a program like Westlake is producing him, and you can just even see it on the tape, is he's got to do a little bit of everything. You see him pinning and pulling. You see him running a lot of different zone run schemes, including some of the wide zone or some mid zone even. Like you see him doing some stuff that he's going to do at Texas, to where there's going to be a learning curve. College offenses are different. There's probably, even with as much verbiage as Westlake may have these days, Steve Sarkisian's probably got a little bit more, but you can at least think that him and Jackson Christian at PNG, kind of the same way, that there's a good base and a good foundation for him.
Look at that pull right there, man. He's got good body mechanics for the position, and that body mechanics translates to strength, to play strength. And then when you actually develop really good lower body strength, then you start delivering some punch and downhill blocking. I like the way the kid moves. They also just had Reed Ramsey on campus too, right? And so they're probably looking at numbers, or maybe they got a call from the coaches and say, hey, look, we got a couple guys we're in a good spot with. And he didn't overthink it, which I don't blame him. He had some good offers, but Texas is the biggest offer that he's got. He hasn't really broken into like the majors outside of Texas. He's got some good offers from these schools that evaluate well. Texas Tech, I'll begrudgingly grant that they do evaluate well. U of H, that staff evaluates very well. You like seeing those schools on them. But this just makes a lot of sense. Economically, the tape is there. The development is there. The need to probably play center where, when he spins inside, there's going to be a lot. Anytime you can move down a spot and that athleticism still translates, you're going to get even more bang for your buck.
I've noticed, and I remember Reese Wise is on that team. And if Reese Wise is putting up good stats, some of it has to be due to the offensive line and the work there. I think this is the last good thing to get out on with Williams David. Jackson Cook's not physically similar to Bray Lynch, but I hope he develops both physically and on the field play-wise to match Lynch. If he does, perhaps he could start in 2 to 3 years. I think that's the best case scenario. Not a bad way to look at it, especially when you get another Austin kid to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I went back and we looked at Lynch there for a little bit just to see, what was going on there. What did Texas miss? Yeah, to me, I think Cook moves better. There's some good quickness and some. He's pretty light on his feet. There's not a whole lot of pass blocking in his video for some reason, but there is evidence of him having quick feet. I think he's light on his feet when he's pulling. I like the way the kid moves. Now it's going to be up to him to develop and just get stronger and really just pay his dues and be patient. And if he does that, you never know what's going to come out. There's a reason there's so many good 3-star offensive linemen in college football, but they have to wait. They have to buy into the program, the development, and then wait their turn. And then you want to see these guys as seniors. I don't care what I hear about him as a true freshman, other than that he's fighting and grappling. We heard that a lot about the Coleman twins. We heard that a lot about Jackson Christian. That's what you want to hear early on. Obviously, he's got the other stuff is on tape. Now he just needs to get stronger and keep developing. I like the take. And again, there's going to be some money ball. There's going to be some money bag. A lot of fans just want all 5 stars. That's not feasible. Not only it doesn't work for high school recruiting, you have to reserve capital for the portal as well. So here's a guy that's not going to cost a lot. Put him in the smoker. Let him curate over time, and then see what comes out.
We'll be talking about this over at Inside Texas. So come make sure you join. Use that first link in our description. Use that QR code at the top left of the screen. Get 50% off. Get access to all things Inside Texas, plus On3 and Rivals for a great price. Eric, thank you so much. Thank you for watching. See you next time on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com.
Bye.